Hey, what's going on, guys? Alex here with Sammy G, and this is your weekly fishing report. A lot of things coming up here this upcoming week. One of them is the rockfish closure, but the striped bass fishery is actually been really good right now, isn't it, Sammy?
Yeah, all the way up our way. A lot of folks out there getting their troll in before it ends. Some really good fishing on the east side, all the way from the bridge down to Poplar Island. I've been hearing about some fish caught. Kind of getting out on that 60-foot contour and kind of zigzagging those channel edges has been really productive for guys looking to troll out there. Do remember it's catch and release, so make sure you're mashing your barbs on stuff. But umbrella rigs with some of your bigger baits like your 9-inch parachutes right now are going to be really productive for you. Rigging these in tandems here with the parachutes, all sorts of stuff like that. Of course, the more rods you have out, the better shot. Some guys are running their full spreads. You don't necessarily have to do that. A few rods out there is fine.
Yep. I think you're still limited to like 6 rods per boat right now, so make sure you read that. Jigging has been pretty great too. I'm sure there's plenty of guys doing great inside Eastern Bay and shallower water too, with some of the bigger plugs like the bigger X-Wraps and whatnot. Finding a couple schools of fish in the shallows, but like you were saying, Bloody Point has been pretty good as well.
Yeah, all the way up to almost right in line with the bridge. I heard of some nice fish caught this week. So you don't have to run far. You can get out there, put out your spread, and get to fishing. I know the jig bite has been pretty good too, from like Thomas Point down almost to Chesapeake Beach. I've heard some good fish caught over there as well. So plenty of rockfish to get out there. Of course, just a few days left. Make sure you're following all the rules and enjoy your time.
Yep. Other than that, let's get ready for the catfish bite that usually starts off right now until the month of April. A lot of guys have been going out and trying it out, and it's still kind of hit or miss, but it should get better as we get into April. One of these hot rigs here is going to be this float rig with a little rattle on it. It just suspends your bait. It's always great to have one of these out there, at least on one of the rods. Keep their bait suspended, see if they like that. I know everybody's been going to some of the other rivers around the area in the Potomac and catching a lot of catfish on the eastern shore with the perch stuff. Talking about perch, what have you heard about the perch stuff going on?
So on some of your areas over here, like the upper Patuxent and areas like that, it's kind of in a really good spot over there. It tends to be a little bit later. Some of the areas that you might be familiar with, like Tuckahoe and Red Bridges and your upper tributaries on the eastern shore, are starting to slow down a little bit. Those fish seem to be mostly all post-spawn and starting to push back down south. So you still can catch them on the way out. So kind of those areas you may have looked before they got in their full swing downriver a little bit might be more productive than going all the way up to the headwaters. But fishing your typical stuff, we've been able to get some grass shrimp in recently, which has been great. You can fish those with a small jig underneath of a bobber. You can rig some tandem rigs, or you can fish artificial. These are some small little baits here by Z-Man that I like to pair with a really light jig head and just put that under a bobber. It's got a nice slow fall because of the buoyant plastic, so it's got a natural fall in those smaller creeks, and you can do really well with that.
Other than that, remember there's 2 areas where the perch, white perch run happens a little bit later. As Sammy mentioned, some of these areas, one of them is the Potomac and the Susquehanna River, because of colder temperatures. That usually happens later, almost into May. So if you're one of those guys that likes to go out for perch, that's one of those runs you have to get into. Other than that, we're talking about shad now. The shad run has officially started in most of the rivers and creeks around the area. Your classic spots like the Potomac and Susquehanna have been kind of hit or miss, but there's fish in there definitely. A lot of these other places like Mattawoman and some of the eastern shore creeks are having some of those fish move up. And this is a classic tandem rig that we rig up here. Small spoon, 1/16 of an ounce, jig on the front. This is great for all your little tiny streams, and you can catch perch with these as well. Remember, guys, this only gets better as we get into the month of April here. So if you're going to some of the bigger rivers, you might want to get some of our double tandem rigs with the bigger jigs so you can get down a little bit deeper. What else has been going on, Sammy?
So freshwater's starting to heat up. It's kind of pre-spawn areas for the bass. So some of those bigger mill lakes like we've seen on the eastern shore, like Tuckahoe, Unicorn, Johnson's, Leonard's, all these places are really starting to heat up. The river, or the ponds are becoming alive. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. Crappie fishing has been really great. I really like fishing these little guys that I was showing you earlier for perch. Same way that I do for perch, just underneath of a bobber. You can get some really big crappie over there this time of the year. Also, the pre-spawn bass fishing. So not just in your lakes, but also some of the upper rivers, like the Chop Tank areas like that, the Upper Chester where you have access. fishing small, hard-bill crankbaits like this, really banging them into the structure, fishing shorelines, these fish are getting up there to stage, has been really productive for some of the people I've heard from. So it's a great time to get out there if you're living close to those areas. Maybe you're caught a bunch of perch the past few weeks and you want to fish the same areas but kind of change what you're doing. Break out some small shallow diving plugs like this. For whatever reason, red always seems to be really productive.
Yeah, especially in the spring for sure. Snakehead fishing on the Blackwater area has been picking up as well with the warmer temperatures. When we have a couple of days that are really nice, it usually gets better. That way, you know, the temperature doesn't drop overnight. If you have a couple cool nights, it kind of shuts it off. But it is time to get out there, and a lot of guys have been using these inline spinners with a little paddle tail, slow rolling them, and that's been getting the bite, as well as chatterbaits or live minnows. This time of the year is great for live minnows, especially in those deeper holes around the bridges down there. So just make sure you get out there and try it out, because there's also perch mixed in some of those areas.
Speaking of some of those bridges that you fish, like the Corsi Bridge and all those areas over there, shad run through there too, and I've actually caught some. So it's not a bad idea to have a small rig like this with you when you're fishing some of those areas over there, because I've seen some good shad bites too.
And I think that's it for your weekly fishing report, guys, and we'll see you back next week.
Thanks. Take care.